thing to ever volunteer to do for my company. So before, when I was working in the other site, there was, when I would go look at the websites, I would see a bar along the top that had customize, edit with, the admin bar would be across there. It's not showing up correctly, and my admin bar only has reader in it.
Oh.
So here's the other question I have really quickly. Was I supposed to go to WordPress.com or WordPress.org?
Depends on that's a good question. It depends on where your site is hosted. Is the URL WordPress.com at the end, or is it your own domain name?
I have both. So I wonder if I should have gone to org or com. I only knew com, and now
well, no, you don't go to .org. WordPress.com is the hosted WordPress. This is a constant source of confusion. It's really,
thank God. Okay, I'm good.
No, you're not. No, don't worry. You're not the first that has encountered it. So, like when people get inherit a website, they don't. Nobody tells them where it's hosted.
Yeah.
If the domain name ends in .com,
yeah,
that WordPress.com, then you know it's at WordPress.com.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, I have my own domain registered. I'm going to flip that over after I'm done the test site, but I'm doing it just sort of on a testing site.
Right.
I know how to do the MMX records, and I'll switch it all over and stuff like that.
So
but all I have is my site and reader, and I don't want that. I want the buttons that will link me back to the site quickly, rather than having to go back to the pages, back to.
Usually that's because your account that you are using is not an administrative account. It's not an administrative user level.
I set it up.
Why don't you share your screen and we'll take a look and see.
Sure, you bet.
So we can see what's going on. Yeah, this is definitely WordPress.com.
Great, yeah.
And even though it says wcomstaging.com there,
yeah,
that's not a WordPress.com URL, but this website it has the WordPress.com bar at the top, the My Site reader and the right and all that. That's the WordPress.com functionality.
Yep.
So you're not going to see the edit bar in here. WordPress.com doesn't have the edit bar, the admin bar.
Okay. No plugin I can get, no way to fake it, no.
Well, it depends on what plan you're on, right? So WordPress.com is a very different WordPress hosting environment. It has various different levels, and then depending on what level you're at, you can install plugins. So
I can install plugins. I made sure.
You can install plugins, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have Element. So yeah. So right, but okay. You try to install admin bar, it doesn't do anything. Is that what's going on?
I'll have to try one. That's what I will try.
Yeah.
Because when I had the other site that I worked on, I had a bar along the top, and it was like edit with Elementor, and it was, it had all the bits along here when I was in the pages.
Yeah. Yeah, but when you're in WordPress.com, you're kind of in a different sort of WordPress environment. And so depending on what you have installed and what they allow, I'm not even sure if they allow. Does anybody know if WordPress.com allows the admin bar to be shown when you're looking at the site? Does anybody else hosting on WordPress.com?
Used to.
Yes, you did.
I haven't done for 5 years.
All right. So do you see the admin bar when you're editing the site?
Probably worth one of us actually setting up a site on WP.com just to refresh the stale recall we all have of many years ago.
Mm.
So should I be on org? Is that where I should have gone with the website?
No, I mean, the short answer is yes, because you have more control. And it's what you're used to. If you're on WordPress.com, then you have to abide by the rules of the WordPress.com and the functionality of their whole architecture, right?
Well, it's terrible.
then yeah, if you're not used to it, and if you don't want to get used to it or like learn all the various things about it, it's like a hosting site, right?
Yeah.
So it's a premier hosting for WordPress websites managed by Automatic, the company that maintains the system. So people that are used to using it, they're very comfortable in it. But it does have differences than the self-hosted. WordPress.org is not a website you host on. It's where you download the code. for WordPress and install it at some other host, right?
Okay.
Tracy.
Yeah.
I've got a test site on WordPress.com.
Yeah.
And if I can I share my screen a minute?
Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead. Because see, right along here, that's what I'm used to is this little, the bars where I could do
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Here, share, and you guys can see.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. So this is trying to Gutenberg. This is my test site for blocks. And look at down here. I've got the customize and the edit bar at the bottom. So this is a WordPress.com. Obviously, you can see by this little blurb up here, it's a WordPress.com site.
Yeah.
And click that, I get that, I get the customize, right?
Okay, so can I see that one more time?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so I will see if I've got that down on mine.
It looks like that would be like out of that's in the non-admin view. That's in the actual website view, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, is to be able to switch
Mhm.
between that real quick.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's switch back to your screen and let's see if we can find that. It looks like it's
Okay. Stop share. There we
looks like
go.
it's a floating bar.
See, I've got this massive screen, so I usually don't. Also new to the Mac.
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah, it's like, shouldn't have gone with the Mac. You guys tell me I did anything right?
Oh,
No, Mac is fine. You just have to get used to it.
I don't know why it's doing this. I've never seen it do it before. Oh, the pressure.
it's because you're sharing your screen. That's why.
It's exactly.
That's what triggers it.
And when you share your screen, then everything goes to. No, I'm just kidding. Try
Oh,
again.
it's so strange. It's got this little tiny icon. Hang on one second.
When an URL ends with Microsoft or not WordPress.com, it's your name dot WordPress.com. Those usually their free version. They've got a open space. It's when you have your own URL and it's being hosted, is what Alex was saying.
Yeah.
You're on the WordPress environment, and then they have some constraints and they do things a little differently.
Yeah.
Whereas the
Yeah,
WordPress.
so what I did was I paid for a version so that I can take the WordPress and stuff off of there.
Mhm.
And then what I've got a domain, it's all paid for. We're gonna bring that over.
What do you mean by take the WordPress off of there?
Oh, you can pay if you've got a paid thing, you can take the
Oh,
footers.
right, okay.
Custom domain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I can get a custom domain. I can do all of that.
Good, yeah, that in your
That's cool.
probably.
I understand everything you guys are saying to me. I just don't speak the lingo yet.
No, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Again, maintaining a site and actually doing one from scratch are two completely different things.
So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so like you can see right away, there's a difference here. You see on the right side in WordPress.com, they have this like in the previous page you're at. This looks very similar, but the previous page you're at, go back one page. And I think that might have been the dashboard, the My Home as they call it.
Yeah,
So they have, yeah, so you see these quick links. That's
Yeah.
all kind of WordPress.com sugar, right? They that's where they put all those things that you might want to do, like add a domain. That's not in the self-hosted version of WordPress, an open source version. Right?
well,
So
and the unfortunate thing is I went and paid for everything before I did my research.
yeah, so are you in the no, go to the actual website. Then go to the site.
See, this is where I'm used to having everything there.
Right. So somewhere here,
Why do I keep
if
doing
you
this?
scroll down, maybe there's going to be a what Sandy was showing us.
I wonder if I full screen this.
No, just scroll down a bit and see what. No, they don't have it. Yeah, it might be a setting. It might be something that. I mean, it's all different, right? WordPress.com is really our meetup. Really, for the most part, almost nobody like goes to our meetup that uses this, frankly. People do
Oh,
ask.
is there a way to migrate from WordPress.com to a self-hosted site? I mean, is that something that WordPress.com provides for? I'm sure they have export for backup purposes, or do they? I mean, they might provide the backup entirely internally. So
if I take the site, I just have to go, what would I do to get on WordPress.org? That's what I don't understand.
well, WordPress.org is not something that you get onto. WordPress.org is just a website where they make available the software that you need in order to have a self-hosted site.
Yeah.
You may download the software from WordPress.org and then go to some cloud provider and install WordPress and get it going. Or, as most of us do, you go to a host that says, we'll install and set up your self-hosted site as a convenience to you. And what you then do is provide the content and the plugins and all the administrative stuff, but somebody else is hosting the site. Here, WordPress.com is hosting the site and also providing a special version of WordPress that only runs on the WordPress.com platform and is mostly WordPress, but it's not pure WordPress. I mean, it's what they think you need rather than what you think you need of WordPress.
So this is the site that I used to maintain. This is what I'm used to.
Right, and that's the normal so to speak, self-hosted site, right?
Damn it. Okay.
I mean, you have a host you pay.
WordPress, this is what you get from WordPress.org. Or when you go to a hoster and they'll use the open source WordPress software, and this is what it looks like. Yeah.
Right. So why did you then go to WordPress.com if you've experienced running a standalone site? Because WordPress.com is sort of like,
there was a difference between org and com.
Yeah, gotcha. Right.
Oh, so you thought WordPress.org meant something about your site.
I didn't realize this was WordPress.org until I went here and realized
it's not WordPress.org. Just WordPress.org is like a retail store or a location that has this software for you. Once you have the software from it, forget about WordPress.org, except for the resources it offers about how do you use WordPress. It's got the best collection of resources of anywhere is on WordPress.org. That's home for the WordPress world.
But it's easy to make that mistake. You basically say, I want a WordPress site. And you go to WordPress.com and then you set up a site and you think you got WordPress. You do, but it's not.
It's a special version.
It's a special version.
Yeah,
it's not the version.
Now, as soon as you have your own domain on your own site, as it appears you do here, self-hosting means you have your own domain name.
Yeah, which I do.
But I'm just saying that's what self-hosting means.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. I understand everything.
Wait a second, I'm just explaining to you.
Now, how do I fix it?
Guys, you have to migrate your WordPress.com to a self-hosted site.
Okay.
Do you have content on WordPress.com that you want to bring over to this other one?
I'm not that attached to it. Like at this point, I'm not far enough in that I really care. I mean, I can create it in 5 seconds if I have this.
Just start a new site.
Like it looks like this.
Well, it seems like maybe what reason you have. Think of WordPress.com as WordPress with training wheels. Right? Do you need the training wheels?
I don't like them. No, I'm finding it's limiting more.
Then just
more than
consider the money that you put into WordPress.com is just sunk money. Too bad. Move on, because you're not going to get anything for it. If you try to have these two different lines of thinking in your head.
Yeah, no, I understand.
You're much better off. Think of self-hosted WordPress and thereby fit in with the 90% of WordPress users.
This confusion continues to confound people, and I think it's actually becoming even more confusing because they're introducing features like the block editor that are different but better and worse at the same time than the open source version, because the WordPress.com is actually a commercial for-profit exercise, meaning that they're running a for-profit hosting system with a slightly different version, or actually in some cases many very different than the open source version that you download from WordPress.org. You don't host at WordPress.org, you host at WordPress.com.
It's funny, I've not read anything about the Gutenberg project that ever made any reference to WordPress.com.
Right.
I mean, not a word. And I've read 1,000 articles, I'm sure, over the course of a couple of years or 3 years now. So whatever's happening on WordPress.com in regard to this massive change happening in the WordPress world with the block editor isn't considered noteworthy enough for anybody to write about it in the blogosphere, which is, you know, a pretty active community in the WordPress world.
Tracy, can you just do us a favor? Can you click add new to a page? I'm just curious to see on WordPress.com what the current state of the art is when you add a new page.
It's terrible. I hate it. I hate everything about this.
Well, like I'm just, you're right. This is a very different looking block editor, but it is the block editor. You can tell because of the plus sign there where you can.
Yeah, so I just go down here, I put in my Elementor full width, and then I just go back to Elementor anyway, because I like it.
Right.
Okay.
You're switching to the page builder. And by default, WordPress.com sites do not even allow you to install Elementor, right? They don't allow plugins until you pay for it, and then you can do the plugins, right?
Yeah, I really want to tell my boss I just wasted hundreds of dollars.
Well, I mean, again, if you want to continue here, you can. It's just you're going to learn the WordPress.com and their documentation way of doing things. And it's going to be slightly different where it's not going to be completely 100% applicable to your knowledge.
It's driving me crazy. Yeah, it's really frustrating.
Yeah, so right, that's the thing, right? Because it's not everything you're used to. And so it could be a little bit problematic, right?
So then I would download, how would I work then? Sorry, guys, for the 101 course. How would I work from this sort of a thing with my new website?
That wherever this is hosted, you can go and say, I want another WordPress site, for example.
This isn't, yeah, I'm not related to this anymore. So I have to do this all on my own.
Yeah, so you can go to SiteGround, Kinsta, WP Engine, NetFirms, GoDaddy. I mean, there are hundreds of hosting sites that will host a WordPress site for you from anywhere between $2 a month to $100 a month.
What's the best? What's the cheapest?
I love Kinsta and WP Engine. They're premier hosting sites. SiteGround is good. DreamHost is pretty good. Anyone else have any favorite?
Yeah.
hostings?
Oops, I better.
I would.
Am I unmuted?
No, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Web Hosting Canada, WHC,
Yeah.
out of Montreal. They're not bad. They give good support and very inexpensive, and they don't seem to jerk around. So I like that one. I had several others, but I'm thinking I'd recommend that.
Right.
They have a one-click install. They have a one-click install deal.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you've got a website somewhere and you want to get their hosting, they'll take it all over for you and set it up, and they don't charge.
Oh, cool. So they'll move the WordPress.com site over. Even.
I don't know about .com. I would assume so, but
Pretty much the free migration is specific to cPanel sites because cPanel is so easy to move from one cPanel host to another cPanel host.
yes,
That they all offer it as a free service. But if you've got something unusual about your setup and it isn't on cPanel, then no, migration won't be free and easy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would suggest that you look for WordPress optimized servers, and they're going to automatically do the install when you sign up for their service. The migration on something like yours, and I've worked with several people with WordPress.com, and some like it, but some had some problems. But when they migrate, after they built their site out, there's hooks and stuff, and it's not as clean as moving from one site, WordPress.org software package to another. You can migrate those servers a lot easier. But when you come from Divi or you come from WordPress.com, there's hooks. So if you're just getting started, you don't have a big build out.
Yeah, there's nothing there. I can recreate it in no time. So I'd rather just pull it over.
Then you're laughing.
Yeah.
There's a
And
lot
you
of them are
suggest
offered.
it's a good place to go?
Well, what Alex said was pretty good. The Kinsta and the WP Engine, they're the little bit higher ones. SiteGround is pretty economical, got good site speeds. Cloudways is another one, a Site District, but there's a few of them out there. There's independent reviews of them, but you really want something that's kind of optimized. You know, they understand WordPress, they build their servers to match WordPress, and then they've got some kind of server side optimization.
Well, then other than paying for the hosting, there's nothing else that I'm going to have to pay for because I've got my domain already.
Well, that depends on whether you're going to, you may want to buy a premium theme, or I don't think you need to. And there may be some plugins you might want to buy, but I don't think you need to. But it really depends on what you're doing for your company website. right? Is it going
But
to be
this is a company website, right?
No e-commerce or anything like that, just a
something like that?
nice.
But
sweet
this
little-
is going, the hosting will be paid for by the company, right?
Yeah.
So I would say definitely go for managed hosting,
Okay.
pay the premium, save yourself a few headaches for what is in fact, as a business expense, a trivial amount of money, 20 or 30 or $40 a month. If it saves you 2 or 3 hours a month is cheap, right?
Okay.
So Kinsta, would be one example, of
Sorry,
a
what is it?
well-regarded managed hosting firm
I'll put it in the
that
chat.
specializes in WordPress.
Okay.
WP Engine's another one. Anybody who is experienced would prefer to be hosted there than at one of the ones that's a bargain price monthly. Right, guys?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I actually at Ionis 1-in-1, they have a hosting package where you can spin up hundreds of WordPress sites, but it's a shared hosting. But if you don't need a huge amount of traffic, it's not bad. But primarily the cost will be almost always in performance, Tracy. So like a shared host at $2-3 a month will give you fairly poor performance. You might be able to like get it all running, but it won't be snappy. And then if you go to like WP Engine at the other kind of spectrum, you're going to be paying probably 10, maybe 20 times more per month, but you're going to get much better performance. And you're going to have lots of managed features like automatic backups and restores and staging sites and all kinds
Well,
of.
the other thing is that this is a service business and you pay for service. So if you have a problem and in the first year or two, you're going to have regular problems, to be able to call a host up that speaks English, works, Toronto or Canadian hours, gets answers back within hours rather than days or weeks, and is responsive, that's really worth a lot. And the people who've raved about hosts, often it's because when they've had a problem, it's been addressed. And, that you don't know what those problems will be, but the more experience you have, I think the more you appreciate people who can give you good answers and solve problems. Like if, for example, all of a sudden you want to start using SFTP as a way to upload files to your WordPress site, and you're not really sure what that is, and you email support at the host and they don't really know what you're talking about. Well, that's a worrisome sign. The guys that really know what they're doing come back with an almost instant answer. Here are the settings you need. Here's how we go about it. It is running and available on your account. Thank you very much, kind of thing.
But I have you now, Robin.
Well, you have our meetup group, right? Actually, Tracy, I do have actually somebody that I can't believe I forgot her name. Her name is Anne-Marie Gill. I actually work with her on many migrations. She's actually saved sites that we built that are fairly complex, but were not performing very well. And she moved them over to, she's a reseller in Seattle, Washington. So she's in the States, but she uses a virtual private server that she resells off of from a company called MDD Hosting. And the thing about Anne-Marie, which is very unique, and I'm sure, it's not very much available anywhere else, is essentially she basically charges you her own maintenance rate, which is not much more than a hosting rate of a server. But you actually are talking to Anne-Marie. You're not talking to MDD Hosting, and she's using their technology. And one of the things that was interesting about MDD Hosting is that they use Nginx, I believe, as the web server. Some other ones use it as well, and they use a custom cache solution on there, and they use Lightspeed Cache, which is the plugin. And I have to tell you, like every single site I moved over there, from wherever it came from, whatever site, improved performance, and it was not the cost of WP Engine or Kinsta. So it's kind of like in between a very, very cheap shared hosting and a kind of a version of managed hosting in a sense, because she takes care of everything. So you need to restore, you just email Anne-Marie and say, hey, can I do it? So that's
So just go to MDD Hosting and talk to Anne-Marie.
well, I can connect you. You can go and buy from MDD Hosting for sure. You can do that. But remember what I said, there are some people out there that have so much experience hosting WordPress sites. They are in the business of basically creating a boutique hosting service.
Yeah, I want to get a hold of Anne-Marie. Yeah.
And she's great. I mean, she knows everything about all the tweaky things that can happen in the site. And I think she follows a pattern of like here is how I install our sites, and here is what I'd like you to put on there. And then she'll say, well, this plugin, maybe not such a good idea. So she kind of does a little bit of an audit, and she does the migration for free if you actually want to do it. I don't know from WordPress.com, but she's migrated some really complicated sites. She just knows how to do it really quickly. So that's another one. So that's
Thank you guys so very much.
Yeah, her company is called Cascade Valley Designs. I hope she doesn't get bombarded by you guys, because I mean, maybe it's good that she gets bombarded, but this is her website, Cascade Valley Designs. And she does obviously web design as well. She does WordPress development, but she's one of the more, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people, and she's this the kind of hosting service she provides is very unusual, because most of the time WordPress developers simply just say, go to this host and see you later. But she's kind of provides that hosting service too. So yeah.
Thank you. She'll be hearing from me.
All right.
Probably me too.
I'm on her website right now.
Yeah, she's really great. Anne Marie Gill. Yeah, she's amazing.
Cascade Valley Design.
Yeah, I shared it in the chat. It's just her and Stephanie is her graphic design partner. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, let's keep going here. I know that Bruce, you've been waiting. Are you there, Bruce?
Hey, is that Alex?
Yeah.
And you can hear me okay?
Yep.
Good stuff. You know what? I heard you say Ionos 1 and 1 plus 1.
1 and 1, yeah. It used to be called
1 and 1. So that's what I used.
Huh.
And I just set it up, and I'm so new, I can't tell you. But I've got my site set up, but when I go to my iPhone to look at it, the menu is not visible. Part of it is, but part of it is hidden.
Let me share my screen, and then we'll go to your site. Can you give us the domain name?
Yeah, it's www.k, the number 2, K, P-A-Y, so K2KPay.ca.
So the way I like to simulate mobile design is simply by just loading the website up, and then I tear away the menu bar, and I essentially shrink the window. This is like the poor man's mobile Chester. So I see what's happening here right away, right? Your menu bar is cutting off. This is the result of two things: either a very bad theme that simply doesn't do this properly, or something that you've introduced to the theme, whether it be a plugin or a customization, that's caused this problem to occur.
Probably the latter.
Oh yeah?
Probably something I did. So I'm using Customizer, and I'm using Nimble Builder.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the menu bar is here, but definitely it gets cut off here.
I'm kind of thinking it's that first section that I have there, that maybe I have to move that down lower. I think that's the theme from Customizer.
Well, I mean, this shouldn't be like this right off the bat. I mean, like, when's the last time this menu bar was working in a mobile?
Before I pushed a bunch of buttons and did something wrong, because it was working at one point.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's could be so many different things that could be happening here. This is unfortunate. It's interesting because depending on how wide, yeah, as soon as it responds to actually to this mobile button, this little hamburger menu, it starts breaking. Anyone have any like troubleshooting tips as a good way to start troubleshooting this on the call?
Mm-hmm.
Can the menu be made so that they drop down and not be all across like that? See how many things in the oh, I guess I'm looking up above all those little folder things. Sorry.
Yeah. No, this is my shortcuts from my browser.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was looking up above. I thought there was okay. Sorry.
I actually tried to move the menu to the top bar to see if that made a difference.
No, but it's clipping. There's something happening here that okay, let's start with like the basics. Do you have a backup of your site going back to when this theme was working?
No.
Okay, that's a problem. That's something that all of us on the call should have as a way to kind of know in general, like 30 to 90 days with a backup. So you could potentially just click a button and restore it back to what it was before, right? The good staging, the good hosting facilities will have that automatically. You can take snapshots in certain cases at any time. The really low end ones won't have that. So they'll do like backups only when you ask or something like that. But
How often do they normally do backups?
it depends on what kind of host you have. Some will do it every single time you install a plugin if you want, and or do it on demand. And some will do it every 24 hours. Some will do it once a week. Some will do it once a month. Depends. Right?
I got to check that out.
The more money you pay, obviously, for hosting, the better service you get around backups and restores. That, to me, that's a pretty clear indicator of a high-end service, where they do really, like a WP Engine has daily backups going 90 days back, and they have a endpoint snapshot, meaning like before you do something, you can invoke a backup and then save it and label it as a an out of schedule backup, and you can do as many of those as you want. So it's really great service. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
If depending on who your service, because I had some issues when I was installing plugins, and some of the plugins will cause problems with other parts of your website. But what I did, because at the time I was newer at doing it, I contacted my server's GoDaddy, and I contacted them, and they were able to check into my CSS files and find out what the issue is and fix it for me. And sometimes what it is, you have to go back and delete plugins and reinstall them to see what is actually causing the problem.
You think this kind of a problem would be caused by a plugin that would cause this?
It could be a plugin that he put in, and that plugin is causing other errors.
Well,
My screen is so big, but it's that top bar he's talking about, right?
Yeah. If you want, Bruce, you can go into your WP admin and just start deactivating plugins one at a time and see if it fixes your problem. Just deactivate.
Yeah.
And then reactivate it.
No, deactivate it, test to see if it's fixed it. If not,
Yeah, refresh it and do it in a incognito window.
Yeah. Like, or in private in Edge or in incognito in Chrome, and do it one at a time. So like deactivate it, okay, test it, then deactivate another plugin, test it, keep deactivating until you've deactivated all your plugins.
Okay.
And then
if you have a computer and a laptop, what you can do is just have them both running at the same time and press F5 to refresh.
Yeah.
But it's going to be and normally it's your lowest rated plugin.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you picked up one of like a 3-star, it's probably that one.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
good tip. Very good tip, Miss Cakes.
Yeah. I mean, another way to do it, if you want to like do a little bit more faster, is you take the first half of plugins and you deactivate them all at once. If you have like 20 plugins, you just deactivate 10 of them. Now, remember what that will do, right? It's part of your site will definitely break, right? So like, it's not to say that those plugins, if there's an e-commerce plugin, your whole e-commerce system will break, right? So if it's WooCommerce, for example. So by doing like 10 at a time, like say you have 20, you do 10, the first 10, then you know if it fixes it, you know it's inside those 10, then you can like do process elimination and do the 5.
I don't have that many plugins in there, so it shouldn't be too difficult.
Okay, so sorry, what you're talking about is that your menu is cut off.
Yes.
Your menu is cut off. It's likely that your menu settings in the appearance isn't set properly.
Yeah. Only in mobile, right? It only happens in mobile.
Yeah.
Not
so
I tried a number of things under appearance, menus, and I played with it quite a bit. And I think if I recall, the time that this issue cropped up was when I changed my homepage and I put what you can see there now, we can help you grow your business. That section, I moved it up. Before I did that, I could see my mobile menu.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
So
kind of,
pay that image. It could also be that that image is not the right size for your menu bar. Because
So
it
it's-
looks like that menu bar is oddly wide, unless that's what you intended to do. But it could very well be that that menu bar, that image for the menu bar is too big.
okay, I'll try that.
So
Are you-
check the size of the images.
Ye-
I did
yeah.
that too with my logo, because that's your logo, right?
Yeah,
Are you
So
using
check
a
this-
page builder?
It's
Are you
likely
using-
the size, it could also be just the size of your logo. Try that first and make sure that the logo of your the size of your logo, first of all, that is first it's high resolution, the proper resolution. And secondly, that it's the right size. I did that on when I first started, and that's what my problem was.
okay.
But it could be that the size of the logo is not the right size for compatibility.
You know,
Does that make sense?
The theme, have you checked the themes documentation to see if there are
Yeah.
specific image size requirements for the header and that first block below it? Because on previous occasions, we found that image sizing can have weird effects on the layout, and certainly in terms of headers.
Okay,
Bruce, something I'm noticing when I look at on my screen is that the menu's opening properly, but it's showing up, it's going underneath the
Yes.
banner image.
right.
Right. So that's you didn't touch the Z index, did you, in any of the CSS?
You know what, I read something about that and I tried it, but I reset it to the, the normal setting.
Ah, okay. Because that would, if it was the Z index, that would do it.
Yeah, I see what's happening here. Good eye. If I go to the
Yeah.
About page, I can see the menus opening up and the image is above it. There's something that's pushing this image in responsive. See here, I can see more of the menu. See that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm on the About page. So basically, depending on how far this image has been pushed up, the
menus.
menu stops. In fact, interestingly enough, it's not clickable here. So there's something really, I don't think this is,
Perhaps you should replace that block, the block immediately below the header with something close to an empty block and just see if things behave as you want them to. Because if they do, then that's isolated the problem, at least to that block. But if it makes no difference what's in that block, then it must be the header that's the issue.
It's probably not a plugin as a result, because of this.
Well, unless it's a plugin that does layout in some important way, right?
A page builder of some sort, yeah.
Right, because if the plugin doesn't have anything to do with CSS or layouts, then how could it be relevant in this context?
Yeah.
is there a way of displaying that menu differently on the mobile? So in other words, it's dropping down right now. Is there a way to display it as it would show on my laptop?
That depends on your theme.
Yeah, there are themes that give you, quite specific options to make the mobile version different from the tablet or desktop version, but that's quite specific to the theme.
Okay.
I mean, in other words, if the theme doesn't provide for it, well, that's it. That technique's not open to you.
Bruce?
But page builders, for example, can be quite adept, the premium ones, it can be quite adept at enabling you to tweak the different versions where you don't find the built-in method of responsiveness that works for you the way you want it to. But I don't know sort of how broadly those capabilities are outside of the page builders.
Tracy says in the chat, that's why I love Elementor as a page builder. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what page builder you're using in Customizer theme. Are you using a page builder? Do you know, Bruce?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Bruce, when you say, can you see it in mobile? Like, do you mean that when you're working on the site, can you see what it looks like on your phone on the site, right?
No, sorry.
Okay.
I just meant when I'm on my phone
Right.
and I look at the site, I can see that it doesn't show correctly.
Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood you.
Yeah, and I'm kind of getting the impression from the comments that it has something to do with that section right below the header, that
Yeah.
theme.
Yeah, I think
And I
so.
might have to play with that a bit. I'll try it, and then we've got another call. If there's another call a month from now, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to try some of these ideas and see what I come up with.
yeah, that's good. And if you have, you should check the documentation on your theme, the customizer theme, and see if there's some options for that.
Okay.
I'm trying to actually load your site on my phone as well, and I can't seem to find the domain name. That's weird. I'm trying to load it up. I can't. It's weird. Is this site public? It is public, isn't it? K2. K.
You have .com or .ca? It's .ca.
Let's see it.
Let's see. Yeah. No, here it is. I got it. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's even worse. It's actually, you can't see any of it on the homepage. So you can't even navigate away from the homepage at all.
How do you get to the about page on your phone if you start at the home page and you can't select about?
I didn't though. That was the trick I was showing you. I don't even go to my phone to test responsiveness. I go right to a small narrow window. Responsive design is simply a narrow web browser window on your regular computer. That's all it is.
Okay.
And you don't need to even go to the phone. You can check all your design, or at least a majority of it, simply by tearing off the window off your browser, like by dragging the tab and then just shrinking it to where the responsiveness, with the width of the window, what they call the viewport, when that actually shrinks to where it actually changes the menu bar so you can see how it works. And it's a pretty good approximation. It's not exact, by the way. Like on my phone, I don't see any options, whereas on the homepage, I see a little bit of the about. I still can't click on it, but you can see like if it's working or not pretty quickly. You don't have to like switch to the phone to test and then make a change. You can do it right on your computer.
Okay.
Yeah. Okie doke. Well, let's see what happens.
If I could just make a comment, I'm on the website through my browser, and it's saying not secure. And I noticed that you don't have perhaps you don't have an SSL certificate on there. So if you're involved in the payments industry, you may want to make sure that your website is appears to be secure. People are visiting it with different browsers.
It's a great idea, and I'm going through a lot of difficulty trying to get my certificate. So far, they're mailing me something from Ionis 1 and 1 that I have to then sign back. But I think they're over in South Africa or something.
They're in Germany. They're actually in Germany.
Oh, right. And they sent me something by mail, or they said they were, but I haven't received it yet, so that I can authorize a code and send it back to them.
That's not my experience in how SSL is set up with Ionis.
Yeah, never.
I don't know what kind of certificate you're getting, but they have a Let's Encrypt functionality. You should be able to self-service and create a certificate in their.
Have you already paid for it?
I think it has something to do with, they wanted some identification that showed phone numbers, that kind of thing.
Oh, did you buy an advanced certificate or what?
I think.
Oh, okay, that's probably why. Well, you really don't need it though. You might want to get your money back and just do it right.
Even the inexpensive hosts are now pre-provisioning sites for SSL, so that even when you don't initially ask for it or need it, you'll find that if you're in a cPanel, that it's already set up in it and just waiting for you to activate it.
Got it. Okay, cool. That's good. Thank you.
Bruce, as a small business, you're probably entitled to get the Let's Encrypt for free. If you go to that website, I'm going to post that link for everyone, because I did that with a client I was working with a little while ago. And although they were kind of a small medium, based on the criteria, we're able to get an SSL for free through them.
Nice. Thank you.
That's another consideration when you're choosing a host, that they include a free SSL certificate that you can easily install with your website.
In fact, the Let's Encrypt ones are the free SSLs that the majority, I think, now of hosts are making use of.
Yeah. There is some documentation on Well, it's actually with cloud, but I think what there's yeah, the SSL certificates with a lot of sites they're still selling them because it's like they perceive it as like this value add. But honestly, I don't think anyone should be paying for an SSL certificate these days. It's
So
like
really, there's no reason to go to Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt works through the host as a service for the host to offer, so that then the host turns that on or has that running from an administrator point of view, so that all of the host customers then get the Let's Encrypt certificates as just an included service.
Yeah.
No charge,
Well,
no bother.
I actually got it myself through Green Geeks. They had nothing to do with it
Oh
because
yeah.
ours had expired for the client I was working with.
Yeah.
So I was looking around and they were fairly inexpensive, anywhere from $3 to $9, something like that. And then I stumbled upon Let's Encrypt. At first I thought it was a bogus organization. I found out that they're not bogus, they're legitimate. So I filled out the online form. They emailed me a link and away we went.
Yeah.
At one point in time, pretty recently, there was an automatic renewal cycle that you had to go through with Let's Encrypt, but most hosts handle that for you. But then they figured out some way to avoid that problem, so that once you are running with a Let's Encrypt SSL certificate, that's pretty much it. You don't really need to think about it ever again, at least not, in the next years ahead.
Yeah, I believe the expiry was 18 months and they would notify you
Right.
in advance.
But as I say, most hosts now have the automatic renewal process sort of built into the service, so that from a client point of view, you really don't even know who the issuer of the certificate is, and really you don't care as long as you've got a reputable host.
Yeah.
But it's actually every 3 months with Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt in its technology does not, that's one of the main things. It's a free certificate that lasts only 3 months. And then you have to have technology on your host, or you install some other kind of automatic renewal to renew or renew every 3 months. That's just that there's no longer Let's Encrypt certificate than 3 months.
Oh,
Is it,
okay.
is it 3 months or 13 months?
3 months, 1 quarter.
I thought it was 13.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was over 12.
No,
I thought it
3
was
months.
over a year.
Nope.
So
But
if you're
anyway.
It may have been the old
handling
procedure
you need to
that
watch for it.
before Let's Encrypt became as popular as it is now.
Again, your host may advertise 13 months or whatever. That isn't the point, though. That's because they're renewing 4 times for you or something like that. The underlying technology for Let's Encrypt is simply a open source system that creates these keys and allows you to issues a certificate with them as the trust, and then but it's naturally 3 months. It's kind of built into their architecture. If you want to actually get a year or 2 year or a longer certificate, those are almost always paid for, and they come with insurance and security and all kinds of other features. Like Ionis offers one for $30 a year to $200 a year, depending on the various different features.
And usually the difference in what once you start paying, the tiers or levels that you have to choose from are essentially geared to how much verification of your identity is going on. So if you want to have an ironclad validation that you are who you say you are, with the legal documentation and so on, you'll pay hundreds of dollars, and then the registrar will certify that you are this company at this address with these articles of incorporation or whatever, to whatever that extent is that you're paying for. And then the lower levels are just confirming your identity because you have an account or a phone number or something. And so that's in the SSL context, that's what you're paying for, is the authority of the registrar and the effort that they put into validating who you are.
Good information, folks. Thank you.
I'm going to share the Let's Encrypt documentation website. It has probably one of the best explanations of what SSL is, and actually a lot of information about what they do and why it's free. They are supported by hundreds of.
I think also that the Let's Encrypt SSL certificates allow for wildcards, which was something that a lot of people wanted and were willing to pay for before. And I vaguely recall something about the fact that that's now available, so that it's part of that built-in, hosting mechanism that they have, so that if you have 10 subdomains, that used to be a headache, or make you pay for the commercial version of SSL. And I think that's now included, or at least it's no longer an issue that results in anybody caring. You just open your subdomain and it's SSL.
The thing to remember about Let's Encrypt is they are actually a certificate authority, which means that they have this thing called the Acme protocol, and they're a certificate, a CA, a certificate authority. So your certificate, when you buy it from, let's say, Ionis, may be what do I think they use? GeoTrust.
Wait, for instance, is one of the big ones. That
Yeah,
was the
they're-
South African guys.
Yeah, they have these certificate authorities that issue. They're the public-private key sort of certificate issuer, and that's what they call the certificate authority. But Let's Encrypt is another certificate authority, and to pay for the infrastructure, they get funders like Mozilla, Cisco, Amazon Web Services, Google, and a bunch of other GitHub, a bunch of other companies effectively say, look, we want to have 3 certificates for our services. Automatic is actually a major sponsor, WordPress.com and the WordPress Automatic. And so they kind of fund this thing. So they have an alternative than paying a host. It's interesting that even some web hosts in here, like Pantheon, Netlify, I'm looking at their sponsor, SiteGround, Shopify, they normally would sell an SSL certificate, but effectively what they've done is said, well, we're just going to give you a free certificate and basically compete on features. You can get a free certificate with us. So Wix, all these kind of companies. So it's definitely it's an amazing thing. They've issued over 200 million certificates. They're doing a great job. Okay. So Drew, did you want to talk a little bit about, you had backup WBug? Was that from this month or last month? On the meetup, the back W pup bug. Not sure what that is. Okay. Well, we have I'm kind of run out of questions on here. So I think Artisan Cakes, you had your hand up for a while. Do you want to unmute and let us know?
Oh, sorry, am I on mute?
No, you're good now.
Oh, no, I had a call coming in. That's why it muted. So I have 2 questions. It's not about artists. The first one is there a plugin or a way to easily identify pages that you're not using? I'm trying to speed back up it's not slow, but because I added stuff, deleted stuff, I have some pages that I don't use that also came with the templates.
Great question.
And I'm always afraid to delete them because.
Well, you don't have to delete them. You can deactivate them, right?
Yeah, but is there a way to identify? Yeah, I can deactivate them, but I'm also just a little worried that I deactivate the wrong one.
It's a very good question, actually. It's a very, very good question. And the short answer is no, you really can't. If you deactivate
Could you state the issue again? I didn't quite understand it.
I've done a lot of adjustments to my websites over time. And so as a result, like there's the original template and the stuff that I've added to try and then didn't really work, or even some plugins, they add pages and then I delete the plugins because I'm not using them, but the pages still exist. But the pages aren't identified to the plugin that it was attached to.
Yeah.
So you'd hope when you deactivate or remove a plugin, it removes the pages, but they don't always do that. So I have some extra pages, but I'm also afraid to delete them because I'm afraid I might delete them and then I actually need it because it's one of the background pages that run for, like, let's say a login or a password reset or something like that.
You have a backup of your website you can restore if you mess something up?
Yeah, I do.
Then delete away, my dear. Delete away. Go nuts.
Another thing you can
Yeah, I
do
wouldn't
is
make
set
the
them
assumption.
Yeah, set the pages into draft mode.
Yeah, but doesn't really answer the question. If it's in draft mode, then it still exists, but you want to clean up basically, right?
Yeah, I want to clean up.
Yeah, so like draft mode is not a cleanup. It's just another intermediate. You can unpublish the page, right? You can do all kinds of things, password protected. But if you really want to clean up the page, make a backup of your site, make sure you can restore it and start deleting.
And start deleting.
You
Can I
know,
ask one more question?
but if you put it in draft mode and then you go through the site and it turns out you need it, it's very easy to undraft mode it, right?
Yeah,
That's
but
Yeah, but it could be also just wanting to get rid of all that cruft of having
Right.
pages
Yeah.
that are dead or abandoned
Oh,
or
yeah,
never
and then
worked or
you
whatever,
delete it.
and getting back
Right.
to sort of focusing on what's important and relevant to the
It's
running of the
interesting, I've been
site
reading a
itself.
book
So it's a
on-
good idea. It's just unfortunate that
I've
the
been-
only way to go about it is somewhat tedious.
been-
As Alex says, if you have a good backup, then rip away and know that you can go back. And if you have
I've been
to.
reading this book called Professional WordPress Plugin Development, and there's a whole chapter in here, interestingly enough, on practices about cleaning up after plugin deactivations. So plugin actually deletions. Deactivations don't really do anything. Deletions should clean up the database, and there's a whole best practice on what you should do and when. And
Mhm.
almost all the plugins don't do it properly. Only the really good commercial plugins take the time to clean up after themselves after they've been deleted, which is more than just pages. It's database tables, it's settings, it's files they may have created. It's a bunch of stuff that they custom post types they've created. All kinds of stuff needs to be done. But the dependencies, so a lot of them don't do that because they figure, well, if you put some stuff in there, if you made changes, then they take the conservative approach and say, I'm not going to delete the page because I don't know what state it's in, so I'm just going to leave it, right? So, you know, it's really hard
Can I
to do.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Of course.
So I have a website, and what I want customers to be able to do, and I haven't quite figured out how to do it, how to do step-by-step checkout, which is why I have extra pages, because I'm always trying plugins. So what I would like is for them to be able to, for example, most of my websites have a status for example, they're going to do buy business card templates. So what I would like them to do is to choose their branding colors, and then on the next page, choose their logo, create their logo, and then on the next page, and then by the end of checkout, they have everything that they need. Or even for artisan cakes, if they can first choose their, I'm just saying it as an example, first choose like how many layers or tiers they want for the cake. Then the next page would be, or the next step would be the color they want for the cake. The next step would be add fondant figures, and then last step, checkout. Is there a plugin or anything that I can do to do that?
Anyone want to take a stab at that answer?
I've seen it, I just don't know how to do it.
Anybody? So, well, sorry, who is Artisan Cakes? Who am I talking to actually?
Oh, sorry, my name's Cassandra.
Hi, Cassandra. So your question is a very, very good question. Like, this is actually the question that pretty much everybody that runs a WordPress site eventually, outside of blogging and putting up pages and pictures and stuff like that, they almost eventually, when they want to sell something, when they want to sell a service or sell some sort of a customized approach, they eventually get exactly in the place you're at. And unfortunately, the answer is a completely non-trivial answer. The reason why is that what you're actually asking for is an e-commerce system, right? You know, you're asking to build what companies have whole IT departments building, right? So not to say that WordPress can't do this, but the issue is that the level of customizability that you want and the kind of choices you want and what to do with that information is completely variable. It could be so different that, you know, the way it looks and what you do with that data and where it goes could be different. But I can tell you that.
Can we find out though, like how many, we're talking cakes, right? So how many
we're
cakes
talking
are you?
business cards, and we're talking business cards, and then we talk cakes. We just talked two different things, right?
Sorry,
Well,
so what's the product
I have
here?
a bunch of websites, but they all do basically the same thing. It's a Woocommerce site where they can purchase things, but they also, on two of the sites, they can download templates for business cards, matching website packages and branding packages.
Right.
But the wedding invitations, which is like not null and void, but it's slower now because of COVID, is where they can add on to their wedding invitations packages.
You're going off in a direction that is extremely complex. I just want you to know, just so you like basically step back for a second and realize what you're doing. You're building a solution, you're building a system now. And so WooCommerce is a very good start for this. WooCommerce is probably the most popular e-commerce system and all its extensions. But don't get me wrong, like everything you learn about WordPress is just the start of this journey that you're on, because now you're building out an understanding of user interface, workflow, what happens with the data, inventory, all kinds of stuff potentially that a plugin like WooCommerce and all its other accessory plugins you're going to want to explore. So that's why I asked the audience here, has anybody ever built like a checkout system for decorating cakes, for example? And the answer is in this.
But it's not, I mean, are we only talking about a checkout system, or are we talking about offering products or services from which you select and then you specify certain parameters of those products that results in an order, etc.? That's a little more than checkout, right? I mean, just as e-commerce is not just taking orders, but rather guiding the customer through the purchasing process all the way through to the completion of a cart-based order.
Dave,
what are we talking about here? Are we talking about something that's quite basic and straightforward, or a more complex product line?
David Gilbert, I want to ask you to unmute. David's great. Can you talk about your checkout system on WooCommerce?
Well, I don't really sell it now because the item is not, it's intended for in-person events, which obviously is.
David, can you turn up your volume on your mic, because I can barely hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
No, it's still pretty.
Hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I'm just going to turn up my mic. So. Can everyone hear David?
No,
his volume is very low.
I can hear him fine.
Yeah, I can hear him fine.
Okay, keep going, David.
Okay. So I've been selling one item, but because the market for it is in-person events, I haven't sold it in like 14 months.
It's not a good market these days.
Yeah. So I canceled my ShipStation account, and I've let it sort of lapse on the back. But I did set up 3 items. I did set up a checkout page. I did set up an item page. I went through that whole process, which was really, like you said, once you get into WooCommerce, it's like this whole mushroom cloud of problems that can occur. So anyways, it was a real learning experience to set up WooCommerce, set up the items, make sure they look right, pricing, geolocating for retail, because I was setting up for US and Canadian dollars based on geolocation. If they're in Canada, Canadian, US dollar. I mean, it is possible. It's just a lot of work. And to your point, Alex, it's like you're setting up a process. You're setting up a whole. It's not just going to a page, look at content, and move on. You're setting up checkouts and payments and all that kind of crap. So, but I think WooCommerce for me was probably the easiest solution. I think from what I researched.
Does a Shopify solution not address that, especially if you're just starting out? Because I think what you're talking about are 2 different sort of dimensions. One is, what's this e-commerce about? There's a lot of work figuring out what the products are and how they're to be priced and what the procedural steps are. And then the other part is, the actual implementation of whatever it is you're doing. And that's where the WooCommerce plugin versus Shopify may be quite relevant, in that Shopify, for someone who's just starting out, you get a turnkey infrastructure for your store. Everything is done for you. Just fill in these boxes with information about the product and its pricing, and then we'll do all the figuring out of the thing. But you will get much less choice about how things look and work, and you may not get a feature that you thought was really important, but nobody else did. In the WooCommerce context, you can have that at the price of figuring it out, and then supporting it, and then trying to debug it and everything else. But I think that's a key point, though, that if you are experiencing e-commerce, the problem looks one way. If you don't know about e-commerce and you're constantly running into these issues, you never realize that all these product metadata questions were so important. Well, then it's hard to decide where your headaches are coming from. Is it the e-commerce setup, or is it the e-commerce process itself, which is so new?
One other way to look at it, which I just thought of while Robin's talking, is are you coming from I want to have a website adding in e-commerce, or do I want to have a shopping site only? In which case, Shopify is probably your better option because you just need some portal that people can buy stuff from. You're not really posting content and blog and all that kind of stuff. If you're doing that,
Good point.
then you want
No, my account, it's WordPress.
okay.
Right.
So I'm looking for
well,
if there's a plugin or a methodology, like you said you
Yeah.
did it page by page.
yeah, but my point,
You already have, sorry, Cassandra, you already have WooCommerce on your site, right? Artisancakes.ca.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so you already know what WooCommerce is. You already got it going, right?
Yeah, I have WooCommerce and I have it up, but what I want to be able to do is a step-by-step checkout.
Yeah, you gotta get into, you have to become a WooCommerce developer here. You have to either find other plugins that do what you want to extend WooCommerce, or actually start coding your own WooCommerce solution.
Okay. I was
Yeah.
hoping someone knew of a plugin that they've maybe used that would make it easier.
There are thousands of WooCommerce plugins. I mean, there's so many of them, right?
Yeah.
It's, unless somebody actually did exactly what you're doing and could show you, it's unlikely, right?
Folks, can I just jump in for a sec? It's Bruce. When you said, what was the one, Robin, you mentioned out in Ottawa, it's the shopping cart payment processor?
Shopify.
Got me.
Yeah, so Shopify does all of that stuff for you.
Yeah.
My experience with the e-commerce side of things is there's another component to all this, and how much is it going to cost you to process the transactions that are going through your shopping site? So the way I've built things on the e-commerce side, because that's what I do, is I've worked with WooCommerce. It connects to a gateway, which is called Bambora, and that connects to your payment processor. If you can connect directly to the payment processor, you can save an awful lot of money on payment processing. You go to Shopify, it's like 3% on every transaction. But if you can go to the processor of your choice, you can reduce your costs.
That's a good point, but I think that it's pretty much true of many of these decisions. Just in the case of hosting, which we were talking about earlier, if you want to solve all the problems administratively that can arise on a site, get the cheapest hosting possible because you're just buying, the basic plumbing. If you want help with things, if you want someone to smooth the path, then in Shopify's case, it's in the commission they get for every sale.
Yeah.
Which WooCommerce doesn't get, but then they have their own way of charging for things.
But let's go to WooCommerce. So Cassandra, let's just please, we have to really understand what's happening here. It's really important, and this is going to be useful for anyone thinking about WooCommerce. So remember, WooCommerce is a plugin that is it's basically one of the best e-commerce solutions for WordPress. There are others, by the way. This is not the only one, but this is probably the most popular, and Automatic owns it now. And there are add-ons. And so somebody just mentioned an add-on called Product Add-Ons, which allows additional attributes. Yeah, you can actually add, that's one of the products in their marketplace. So you can see that there are various different solutions for WooCommerce, right? You can see all the different things. And then you can see all the extensions and all the different types of extensions that occur. I think yours is probably along store management and potentially marketing. These two areas, and maybe enhancements, but there's a whole marketplace of extensions. And so when you go here, you will actually see almost like a plugin store for WooCommerce only, not just for WordPress, because these are WordPress. It's an extension for WooCommerce.
Is that me?
No, it's probably somebody else.
No, that's Jacques. Could I ask a question? I just looked at this site, and it looks like, what you're asking is the equivalent of saying, how can I collect the information from someone who wants to buy this $250 priced cake? So what are the details of it? And that's more of a question and answer form-based process, potentially. And so if you're still going to, for the next year or two, sell fixed price cakes in the way that you are now.
No, it's not fixed price cakes. That's
sorry?
why I want to do
Yeah,
step
they're
by
not.
step
Yeah, they're not.
check.
Right.
So as they add item
got
to the cart, it will change the price.
Yeah,
So
I
none
got
of
you.
the
Okay,
that are
so
on
you
there
do
are
want to
fixed.
go to a normal e-commerce,
Yeah.
product pricing configuration capability, and not, because otherwise you could, in a sense, use a form to collect the information, because you were
Yeah.
going to then quote on the basis of what the customer asked for. And so you can provide a structure for those questions and answers by using forms, or go to an e-commerce solution.
Okay, so
And
we're on
this-
my website. I have the option to request a quote. It's a joint, I use Jobber for that. So people can request a quote. They send me an image, they can upload an image and send it over to me, and I send a quote. Currently on my checkout, it says that you can add, because what happens with cakes specifically is that someone will add a couple of items into their cart. They'll go hit the checkout and then send me an image of a 3-tiered cake with flowers draping down the side and a waterfall, but that's not what you paid for. So in my disclosure,
Right, so what you're really talking about is a regular e-commerce solution that provides for this configuration of the product. But unless, you could look at, there may be a WooCommerce plugin specifically for configuring cakes. Who knows? There's got to be thousands of those stores throughout North America. If you could find
Alpha,
a plugin that did exactly that, you'd be halfway home.
Sorry, JWP Alpha, you were mentioning this product add-ons. It looks like a potential solution. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, the alpha in that URL is the alpha of Alfa Romeo. I'm the web admin for the Alfa Romeo Club of Canada's website. We sell a membership. The membership has 3 national levels. One, you get a PDF, one, you get a printed newsletter, and the third one, you get a glossy magazine published by the Americans. In addition to that, you can select to join the Toronto chapter for $15, the Montreal chapter for $25, the Vancouver chapter for free. And this is all one thing you're buying. You're buying membership in the club. All of this is accomplished by the product add-ons thing. The national membership is radio buttons. You have to pick one. You must have one. You must have only one. The chapters are additional things you can add on. Add on the Montreal chapter and the Ottawa chapter. If you live halfway in between, you want to join both. Those are just check boxes, and each of those check boxes has a price associated with it, and it just bumps up the price of the whole order.
And that you're using the WooCommerce add-on for that, yeah?
WooCommerce and the add-on. I think it's $100 a year for the product add-ons thing. Once you start getting into WooCommerce things, you'll find that each of their add-ons has a nice price, sounds good, and it's always missing one little thing that you just wish it could do. You want to sell you one more thing that'll do that. You find that means one more thing, and pretty soon you got $1,000 a year bill from WooCommerce, and that's US bucks too. So
that's because you're making
you
money.
You have to resist going down that rabbit hole.
Well, it all depends how much money you want to make, isn't it? So this is the product add-ons plugin for WooCommerce. This is actually,
that looks familiar.
You want to take a look at this, because this is the example of what's happening here. You've got a beanie here and you've got variations of colors, right? But you could specify not just variations, but you can say that this red one is extra $10 or something like that.
No, I have that.
Oh,
I have that on my website. If you go to the product page, you'll see that you can choose like colors and everything else. But I just wanted a step-by-step checkout. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it may not be quite step-by-step, but this, so you already have this add-on?
Yeah, I have that.
Product add-ons? So there's probably a way, you're visualizing it a step process. It may actually be more of like a configuration process on one page, right? You have to lay out all the options in such a way and potentially change the layout so that you can actually make all the choices, and then it'll automatically calculate the price. You're visualizing it as like a wizard, like a step-by-step. WooCommerce may just not have that built in, and you may have to do an extension on WooCommerce to do that, right?
Could you?
Yeah, I don't know. I know I've seen it. It's just
Why don't you ask the website owner how they did it?
Also, I did, and I haven't gotten a response.
because it's their secret sauce, right?
Yeah, it's their
Yeah, but like I said, like if you see something that's really, really cool, it's most likely very custom. which means that it's cost money to build. Right?
Yeah, I'm pretty good with it. Like I have a couple websites that they're like self-automated really. And it's just this one thing that I would love to do that I think would add to my conversion.
Sure.
I can't seem to figure out how to do it. And because I know when I'm on it and I see, okay, here I choose the theme of the business card I'm doing. Next page, I add my information. Next page, I can choose my color. And then now I'm checking out and my product is done.
How about this layered nav? I mean, have you explored all of these e-commerce add-ons on WooCommerce Marketplace?
Oh yeah, that's what I was trying to ask you. What was the site that you said?
I sent a link to the chat. It's the
Okay.
WooCommerce Marketplace, right?
No, I haven't checked out all of them. I've gone through a variety of them.
Sandy did a Google. She found the multi-step checkout plugin. Look at that. Very good.
Oh, maybe I'm putting in the wrong.
Check the chat, and Sandy shared.
Yeah, I think I did that one, but it's not quite. That's one of the extra pages that I have that don't quite work.
But you see, here's the thing. You see, you're going to find solutions online that are pre-baked for a very particular vision of this. As soon as you say, oh, I don't like this part of it, that automatically says you're probably going to be coding, right? So you have to have a compromise, right? It's a small cost to kind of get towards where you want to be versus a completely custom view of the world, which is going to cost you thousands of dollars to implement. Or you're going to spend time learning how to code and spend months figuring out how to make it work the way you want it to work.
I have another thought. Just would your host let you set up staging site so that you can test all this stuff on staging without getting all the clutter on your live site?
I can ask them. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's very good. Even for a staging site would be good for me because I have a secondary site that I build website templates for customers that they can download on Boss Diva to match their branding package. But I think a staging site is more of what I need.
To experiment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just try the plugins on something that's not, you're not going to break anything else and it's not public, and and then as soon as you realize it's not what you want, then you can just clean it out entirely.
Yeah. I think this multi-step checkout is different from the one that I originally had actually changed, or they've changed it since I had it. Because it looks like it does do the step-by-step that I would like it to do.
Yes, well, it's interesting. They have a demo here, and I don't see anything about multi-step checkout, unfortunately. Maybe it's this one.
See, and that's why I always get fooled. That first page where it says,
like I don't see anything that's multi-step about this. This is a standard checkout process here, so I'm not quite sure what they're talking about here.
Yeah, it might be the same one because that's the same.
Well, but again, the demos don't always show all the functionality, right? Because the functions here definitely show multiple steps, right? They show different kind of steps, and but the question is what you can do in each step. That's the real key here, right?
Yeah.
But okay, so maybe that was it. They have this kind of multiple steps, and you have these confirmations. So maybe it's actually the step is not necessarily custom steps, but rather rearranging the existing WooCommerce steps that they have. But it does say additional checkout steps, so it does show like you can actually add some information. If you can add some information and then change and then charge differently for these extra steps, this might be the way to go. Yeah.
This is what you generally call product configuration, right? Is that by going through a series of steps, you make choices about how the product is to be quote unquote configured, built, made, or whatever. And then associated with each of those steps is some price, which varies depending on which options you picked.
Mhm.
So maybe product configurator is the keyword we should be looking for.
Mhm. Here's the documentation for new checkout steps. And what I'm looking for, so I never look at the demos, by the way. On any of these packages, the demos are always awful to my view. Some themes have really good demos, but most demos are just a very particular view of the product. They almost never show you all the things that you particularly want to see.
Yeah.
These I want to see. So I always look at the documentation. And so here on this step, I'm looking for, it can see you can create a new step, right? And what it's doing here, it's creating new hooks for them. This is the programming functionality in WordPress that you can actually hook into and change. And so you can make some customizations, but what I don't see is how do you add price to these, right? How do you add some kind of a value? Well, it's possible that you have to create custom content and then hook that into your total amount somehow, right?
Mhm.
So there's probably the beginnings of this functionality, but you could see here they have these action hooks and they have 2 lines documentation, and then they basically tell you have to start coding. So this is probably a very simple multi-step system. You're going to want to read all of this documentation before you identify whether this is right, because if it doesn't allow you to attach price to one of those steps, it's unlikely you'll probably have to modify it and extend it to be able to support exactly what you want to do. Right?
Alex, I just put a link in the chat window for a document from WooCommerce's site that says that to create configurable products, the most straightforward way is to use the variable product type to create product variations.
Right. Yeah, this is built into WooCommerce, variable product.
Right. So I think that this is something that a fair number of people have been interested in, and therefore is well supported. So it shouldn't be an esoteric plugin, but rather something right down the middle of the road.
Totally.
Straightforward. Not something difficult and hard to sort of figure out.
It looks
because of the number of people interested in doing it, makes the product much more simple.
This is probably another good one here. The composite product. This is probably even better because most likely this allows you to attach price to each one of these. So here's an example. You have a skateboard.
What's that?
Yeah, composite products. Like actually, you start with the link that Robin shared, which is the create configurable products help. Again, you see this is all in documentation. This is where you want to look for solutions. You don't want to look at their marketing, right? You want to look at the documentation. And so I'll just share a little shorter link that has, so this is a step-by-step, basically like a cookbook. It talks about all the features in WooCommerce that you want to use. And it shows you an example of building a custom camera with multiple different camera
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. But notice it's not a wizard, right? It's kind of like a selection, and then it's kind of a wizard, but yeah, I mean, it's all one page, right? The point is that you have variations and they're priced differently. And it does use the composite products add-on, which is $99, right? So, and it uses the storefront, which is a theme. I believe this is a theme. So if you follow this recipe, you'll get something that looks like here. Instead of this would be a base cake with certain options, and then you add them, and then you select and you get a total, and then you check out with those options. This is exactly what you want, I think.
One thing that could add some complexity is if
I'm trying to get away from the form that I used to have. I'm trying to go to something that's more streamlined. I'm looking at the one that I'm sorry, I didn't get the name of the young lady who sent it.
Sandy?
But the multi-step WooCommerce, as I'm scrolling through it, I see at the bottom that it does say that you can do coupons and it said some combined billing and shipping step.
Yeah, but I don't think I think Robin's share is better. I have to tell you, like right off the bat, the multi-step is more about the look and feel of the steps that are built in. You need a configuration system. You don't need a wizard system. You need a way to configure multiple options from a set of features, configurations for a product. Yeah.
One potential tricky part is if there need to be rules behind the choices in which if you choose one choice, if your choice in A can affect your choice in B, can affect your choice in C. And so in the camera case, that could be just very simple and straightforward, that any combination of those options will work. But if in the case of a cake, you can't have certain options with certain other options, well then life becomes more complicated and more demanding than of the e-commerce software. So hopefully your situation doesn't have that.
Yeah, no, it's no, I think with the with the cakes, it's fairly straightforward. Like I'm just trying to take everything that's on my WooCommerce page and do it step by step, so that by the time the person gets to checkout, they relatively have everything that they need, and I don't have to do more.
That sounds
work.
suspiciously like what you started out saying.
But just Cassandra, I just want you to understand what's happening here. Like you have I think you have a little bit of confusion about the functionality and the look. You have to split those apart for now. The functionality is you have a kit, a base price of this DSLR kit, and you have options for the camera body. And then you add various different options, lenses, and memory card, right? So this is like you would go to a store, you're going to buy a camera kit that has a body with 2 different options. It looks like potentially 3 or 4 lenses and a few memory cards. So base cake, like right? Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, frosting type, decoration type, all that, all done on one page. Notice that this
But that's what
configuration
I'm
is all
saying.
done
That's
together.
exactly what I had in Jot forms. So I don't want to go back to my Jot form.
No,
That's
but hold
me
on,
reverting back.
hold on. Jot form is just simply a collection system. This is built into the e-commerce functionality you already have of WooCommerce, meaning that this gives you all of that built-in configuration. Now, if you want step 1 to be on one page, step 2 to be on another page, step 3 to be on the next page, you just need to change your theme and change the way that the data is collected by probably either choosing a different theme or potentially changing the configuration of this plugin to support a paged approach. Simply, they're just doing this on one page because a lot of people actually prefer to do this type of stuff on one page than multiple pages. That's all.
Yeah, I do, but it just looks, to me, it looks like I'm reverting back to what I evolved from. And I just want it to be modern and current to what my niche does, because my niche is very much, I don't know if you guys have looked at the site, but even if you look at the site, my other site, bossdiva.ca, it's very particular in the look and the functionality of it. So I like
no, but
people
you have the core functionality, and then you have to make it look like you want to look. They're 2 separate things. The functionality is one thing, making it look a particular way is a completely separate thing.
Yeah.
That you're putting them together. They're separate, right?
No, I know they're supposed to be separate, but the thing is, and I could accept that, but I've seen it.
I understand that, but they started with a product configuration, and then they layered on the actual experience by changing where they collect all the data and how it looks and the fonts and all the images and everything like that, right? So the fact that this thing shows it to you on one page, that doesn't mean it has to start and end that way. You have to extend the core functionality to make it look a particular way.
Yeah.
And I think you're looking for like something that kind of out of the box gives that to you. I don't think you're going to find that, because WooCommerce is always functionality, configuration, certain options, a lot of sort of configuration, and then the look is separate. And the Shopify is potentially, it might have like a cake kind of configuration theme / functionality, but then you're just gonna just move off WordPress altogether. Right?
Yeah, I'm not going to do Shopify. I already have a WordPress site. Yeah. I have shared hosting and I host other people's sites. So for me to go to Shopify,
but you realize
I had Shopify before, and I don't pay right now $45 a month. I've already paid for my stuff for a year, for 2 years.
Right, but some of those things you may have seen that you like may have been actually built on Shopify.
That might have been, but
so you don't know, right?
I can't let go of my brand.
No, I understand, but I mean, Shopify, you can completely have your own brand, right?
Yeah. Well, because I host other people's sites, if I'm using another host, then I'm not true to my brand or what I promote for my clients.
So here is
So-
I just did a Google. This is a cake shop completely running on Shopify, right? Completely branded, different items. Here's inventory. Here is there's configuration here, right? This is all Shopify, right?
But it doesn't do what even if you look at it, it doesn't do what I want, what I'm,
Sure it does. Sure
what
it
my
does.
question is.
Sure it does. Sure it does. It has configuration here. And what happens in Shopify is you basically configuration can start charging for a particular value. So it does. It's just this particular implementation doesn't, but I'm sure that they have a support for being able to price variations so that you can charge extra for it.
No, it probably does, but it's not my brand. So Shopify is not my brand. My brand is Boss Diva, and I promote you know what I mean?
Put your own brand in Shopify. It's the
I
same
stay
thing
true to
as
my
WordPress.
brand. My brand is to build your own wealth. So for me to pay Shopify, that takes out Shopify $35. Okay, so business wise, Shopify is $35 a month. End of the year, you spent just over $3,000 to pay someone else's wealth. So I have WordPress. I paid for my WordPress to have hosting and provide hosting. To add an expense, that's me taking money out of my bottom line and my brand. So I'm a branding specialist. That's
It's
what
an
I do.
opportunity cost discussion. So if you tomorrow could have a Shopify site that does exactly what you want, you're saying that it wouldn't be worth it for you. You'd rather spend the time to figure out how to do it on WordPress. Is that what you're saying?
No, my site works perfectly the way it is. It's just I have a vision of upgrade.
I understand that, but like I said, if you could upgrade your site tomorrow at Shopify that does exactly what you want, if you could, I'm not saying you could, but if you could, you're still saying it's not worth it. You'd rather build it on your own site and take as long as it takes to do it.
I'd rather stay true to my brand, my branding, what I sell people on.
Shopify doesn't take anything away from your brand. You can introduce 100% of your brand into your site.
No,
Shopify
you're not
doesn't-
understanding what I'm saying. My brand is to build your own wealth, to pay yourself before you pay anybody else. That's my brand. That's my logo. That's what my workshops are based on. So I can't teach people to stop selling other people's products if I myself am buying someone else's product in order to succeed.
Those are just tools like WordPress. It's just a different cost, but you're still buying a product to help you succeed. They're just
No, but that's what you're saying to me. Then I would, for all my websites, I would now have to spend $35 a month.
Are you teaching people how to launch these sites on WordPress?
Yeah, Boss Diva Studio.
I didn't get that from Artisan Cakes though.
No, Artisan Cakes is a part of, that's what I'm saying, it's part of my brand. My brand is Boss Diva, how to build your own wealth, your websites. So Boss Diva Studio maybe is probably a better example for you of when I say it's my brand. I sell the templates for women in business where they can brand their business from their business card to the social media to a matching website.
Okay.
And then I host for women who are just starting. I assist them by letting them host on my website.
Got it.
For a smaller fee. So what I'm saying now, for me, if I was to now myself go and use Shopify, then I'm doing exactly what I'm telling them not to do.
But whatever. The point is that I understand what you're saying, but again, the outcome is what you want. The means to get there is just a set of tools that you're choosing. So what I'm saying to you is, if you could find a tool tomorrow on Shopify, it's not taking anything away from you, right? If WordPress is a tool as well, and it has money cost, and you have to buy a set of plugins potentially, it may be a cheaper cost, so the dollar amount may be higher with Shopify. But again, it's a matter of whether you're getting what you need on one platform or the other. What I'm telling you is on WooCommerce, you're going to probably have to, unless you find a solution that's specifically what you want, you're probably going to have to hire somebody to custom code something for you. And then maybe
no, that's okay. If I don't find it on WooCommerce, like I said, my website as it is works beautifully. It brings in my money.
Right.
I provide workshops and I'm true to what I'm saying to people.
Yeah.
So it works fine. I was just, like I said, I was looking for an upgrade.
Yeah. Well, I
It was
think,
like growth. It's always about growth, right?
I think composite, I think the composite configurable products, those two WooCommerce plugins are a good start. And I think that you could probably extend them and make them do what you need to do, I think.
Yeah, I like the one that the young lady suggested. I'm gonna try that one. I think that's probably
That's a
closer
good
to
one,
what,
too.
as I'm scrolling through it with you, that's probably the one that's closest to what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Anybody have any questions? We have about 15 minutes left in the meetup. Anybody else? Are we gonna finish early?
I got one. I got one,
Okay.
just a quick one.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through anything. It'll be a yes or no. Have a website, had it for years. Has lots of plugins, everything worked beautifully. It has event calendar, you name it. And what happened was I decided to change the navigation. There's too many in the menu and I wanted them to drop down rather than be spread apart. This is nothing abnormal. Did that, everything's fine. All the pictures on all the pages disappeared.
Oh, like are the pictures still on the site? Can you check your?
Oh yeah, the media library, they're all there.
No, I know, but are they actually still inside the page? Can you share your screen? We'll take a look.
Oh, no, I can't. I'll crash. That's why I said it. If anybody's had this problem, my computer doesn't like Zoom, but no, if anybody's had that problem, fine. If not, I'm still working on it. It's not.
Let's take a look. Maybe there are errors. What's the URL? CQB-training.com. We can do a little inspect here and see if in fact it. So is this over here?
Yep, that's it. The first
Okay.
page is fine. The first page turned out okay.
Okay.
It's got a nice little pop out, but if you go to any of the others,
So like this one here, or
yeah, try that one. Sure. Any one of them will do.
yeah. So they're broken URLs here, right?
See, the
Yeah.
picture should be on there. It's not.
Right. So I inspect it. Like so, I did a right click inspect, right, and I go to the console right here. This is their dev tools, right?
Huh.
And I see. Yeah. So basically, you've got a mixed content error here. This is actually, it's good that you brought this up. This is mixed content. Your site is not secure. So you've got it says it's secure, it's HTTPS, but it's not secure because it's mixed content, right? So you've got an image that's being embedded over HTTP, not HTTPS. So your URL is probably absolute, it's not relative, and it's being tried to be loaded via a mixed content, meaning that the page that contains the image is secure, but the actual relative, the path, the URL to the actual image, this image right here, is actually insecure. You have to change the well, you shouldn't embed this with an absolute URL. You should just either remove the you can just remove the URL, just leave /WP content here, or change it so that it uses the S for the URL, HTTPS.
You mean HTTPS?
Yeah.
How did you do that? I haven't seen that much code in years.
It's all running there behind the scenes every single time you load a web page.
Oh, how did you know this?
But you've got other problems, dear. That's not the only problem.
Oh.
Yeah. This is when you know how you like look in a closet that has a bunch of stuff in it, and that closet is nice and
This is
closed.
a very old website. This has been around for quite a
open the
while.
closet and all the crap falls out on top of you.
Wow, this
That's
is
what
kind of
most-
like your closet you've had for years and you dump
That's
stuff
it.
in. This is
So
pretty
like
much
look at the WooCommerce site, and even there they have an intervention. They have like, this is like a warning, this is not an error. But for the most part, there's no issues. If you go to any website and you right click and you do inspect, or sometimes it's called DevTools, and you switch to the console, the console will almost always show you this is actually your closet
Yeah,
stone.
but I won't know what to do with it, so.
Well, but actually, don't say that, Dale. You're very
Oh, yeah.
talented lady.
No,
So you've been with us for a while. So you
coding
just-
hates me.
huh?
Coding hates me.
No, but it's not. This is errors, right? This is not really coding. This is actually errors that's coming from your site. This is your site yelling at you and saying, "Hey, fix me," right?
So
And
what is this area called again?
it's called the console of DevTools. Right click, inspect.
Oh,
Or
okay.
sometimes it's right click and DevTools, or depending on the browser you're in, you're always going to have like this. Like if you view page source, you'll see the HTML, which is the elements here. That's your code of your site. This is what WordPress generates when it's done, right? It's what every website builder generates when it's finished, right?
Okay.
And the console is your website communicating to you, saying that something's wrong. So when you have an error like this, these red ones with a little X have to be fixed, because in fact, there is actually a new issues tab. So you can actually go to the issues tab, and it'll give you a little bit of that's actually down here, the issues tab. This is the console, and then there's the issues tab. And this is the same thing. So basically, this is telling you have mixed content. Mixed content is just a technical way of saying you've got content should be also served over HTTPS. So if you read this, the language is actually quite straightforward. You just have to kind of look at it for a few minutes to understand that it's what it's telling you. It's telling you that you have a page that's being loaded insecurely on a secure page. And by the way, this is something you absolutely have to fix in every site you maintain, because Chrome is now going to start really penalizing people that are doing this kind of stuff. In particular, they're introducing, when you load an insecure page, it will try to load the secure page first and then slow down the page and then go back to the insecure page if it doesn't find one. It's changing the behavior. So it's actually going to slow down and penalize people, websites all over, like the whole website. If it doesn't have a fully secure site, you'll start actually seeing slowness in the way it loads. So this is an example of that. But this is actually breaks. The Chrome will just simply not load it. It used to actually load it. Now it's just saying, sorry, I'm not even going to load it. You're going to get an error like this.
Oh, great.
You add the S in there in your code.
Because I have what you were talking about before. Like I have a great calendar, and I'm going to have events, and it's just one of these great sites for him to do. You know what I mean? And it's done well. And I don't know what to do with this. So how do I fix this? Get you to do it?
Go into the
Get you to do it?
Good answer.
You have to go into this block and find where this image is and change the HTTP to HTTPS.
I have to go into this block.
Yeah, well, this page.
Yeah.
And there's going to be however this is edited, block, whether it be with a page builder or just a page editor, and find where this URL, this image is inserted.
Yeah, but I've never seen that thing picked out, that all that red and blue and yellow. I don't know where that is.
Oh, this is normally doesn't normally show. This is
I know. I figured that out.
So you turn this on when you right click and do inspect, and then you will see the console right here.
Oh, I can right click and inspect?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Or is it too small? Maybe I should zoom this in a little bit.
No, that's okay. It's fine. And no, it's just that I didn't know I could do that. I work really hard so that I don't have to do stuff like this.
No, but this is you're debugging your site, because if you have a thing like this is where you can see a lot of cool stuff here. This is a really powerful piece of your technology in your web browser. Everybody's web browser has this. They just don't invoke it, right? They don't care about this, but you're a developer. You should care about this, right?
Sorry about that. As soon as I'm talking to somebody, the police go by.
That's fine. This, as long as they're not coming for you, it's good. So this is the, and then these errors, these red ones are also the same error. This
so
one.
Do I just delete them?
No, you can't. You got to fix them, and then they'll stop showing up.
Like I know how to do that?
Well, again, this one, you just add the S to the URL for the image in your in WordPress.
Okay, so wherever it looks like it needs an S, I just shove it there?
Where it says mixed content, look for the image source and then put an S in there, so it's not mixed content anymore. This is the same. You've got another image here. It's a different image. It's somewhere else. It's on the courses page. Is that where we're at? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not an error though.
Yeah,
It's
this
just
is, one is, yeah, you're on the security course, you're in one of the courses page.
Yeah, again, there's an image here, which is, yeah, there's a logo here. I don't know if it's actually being, this logo is also being loaded this way, mixed. Just reload it again, go to the courses. And every time you go, if you have this open, every time you go to the new page, it will show you all the errors again. That's being
Wow.
loaded, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I even
And then-
have a pile of pictures of, what do I do? Somewhere in there, I have something that you can see all lovely pictures, a video thing. This has just about everything you could possibly want. He does
Mhm.
really well with it too, by the way,
I bet.
with all these courses and the calendar and,
Of course it does. Everybody wants to learn how to fire a shotgun.
he also produces it. I have the other site for Burke's Gun Oil, and it's actually used by the armed services in the Arctic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when I was living up north, anything that freezes in the wintertime, you just use that oil and it saves it. And I kept telling them you should sell it for more than just guns.
Absolutely.
For everything.
You've got a few other items like that. You've got a font that's being loaded this way through basically, because of these errors, you'll never get a lock in your URL here. You'll never have a lock here.
I don't know what that means. I'll never have a lock.
Well, even though it says SSL, right? Even though it says SSL, it's
Yeah.
HTTPS, it's secure. Because you have mixed content, Chrome and Edge will say it's not secure. So valid certificate, see, you have a valid certificate, but the Chrome, because it has errors and it's got mixed content, it'll say not secure. So you're not going to have a lock here, like a little lock that shows up. That means they're secure.
I have to right click on there and
Yeah,
do
right,
something.
and inspect, yeah, and
Inspect.
then fix these errors in your site.
Oh, you make that sound so easy.
There's a plugin, find and replace, which will allow you to switch from the incorrect URL to the correct URL, and it'll just go through all your posts and pages. And that should correct the problem.
Oh, okay. Because I was trying to make a whole new website that was going to be quite a bit with all the back ends and events and stuff. It would have been.
Dale, what you should do is Google the term mixed content inside quotes, and you'll find a bunch of posts from outfits like Kinsta and so on that will explain to you that mixed content can arise because of the URLs that are in the database, which is to what Jock referred to using the search and replace plugin. But they'll also explain that you may have JavaScripts being called, you may have other external resources being accessed. And if they're not secured as well, I mean, that's what mixed content, the problem is that there are a variety of ways to get something onto a page. And if the source isn't secure, then it's mixed content and therefore you get the red flag.
Okay.
So Google that term and read up a little bit about it, and then you'll understand how to figure out the scope of the work you have to remedy the problem.
Right on.
Okay. And then I guess I'll contact somebody tomorrow to explain this to me again.
It's not complicated,
But my brain isn't working right, Robin. It's been a rough day. I even got my vaccine today, so it's been.
Right, but I'm just saying that this is a problem which lots of people have faced, and therefore there's not only really good tutorials, but they are sympathetic to the headache that mixed content represents. And actually, I think we had a WordPress Toronto session on it a couple or 3 years ago. I forget who it was, but she went through all the steps that she had to figure out. And it was just, it was a bit tedious, but I mean, it was doable. You just had to be patient and go through the steps.
Okay. So it's mixed content.
That's the key term. And if you went to a brand new site and reused all the old resources, you'd have the same problem again.
Yeah, I have a friend who's very much like the lady that was being talked to before, that has her own computers and does all the background. And she was the one that came out about the S being missed. But I don't think we went to this way of doing it, though. So maybe
Right,
I
well,
can.
that's why it's a bit misleading. For example, I did in WordPress, is it 5.7 or 5.8, where they now just give you a switch to flick to switch over to SSL. That completely avoids the issue of mixed content, and therefore is only a partial solution. It's only the first step. The real work is finding and sorting out these insecure sources of content you're trying to display.
Yeah, and this
Who's
is
your
an old,
hosting provider?
this one here. I think he's with WH Web Hosting Canada, I believe.
Okay.
I changed it. I used to have some people at Host Papa, but that has ended up to be not good.
You know what I found when I was
Isn't there-
first starting out? I started out with GoDaddy, and they're amazing. Like, if you have any problems with your website, they are always so willing to go on the back end and help. Like,
But not with this kind of a problem. This is too
No.
Oh, no,
specific a requirement. There is a
I had
plugin.
my website
There is a plugin
crashed.
that will address mixed content to allow
No,
you to
sorry,
sort of
what I
work
was
around the
saying
problem
is
while
I've
you
had
root
problems
out
with my
the underlying
website.
source of it. I forget the name of it, but it just,
Okay, sorry. What I was saying actually is that I've had these issues where I've crashed my site. And when I called GoDaddy, they fixed my site for me. So sometimes they have great prices, but you also get great support. So the amount of things that I have had happen to my website, I've had their support in order to help me fix it. So sometimes it might be worth, when you're starting out or
Yeah, but
you're in a
I'm not,
fresher
and it's
state, to
not-
have that kind of backup.
It's not my website, it's my client's website.
Oh, okay. And you
So-
host his website for him?
No, I do not. I do not host their websites. My clients have complete control of everything that is theirs. In other words, their
Okay.
name's on their hosting, their name's on for the domain. They have control, not me.
Oh, no, I know. So if whoever his hosting person is, if they're not able to give him
I
support,
don't know. I haven't been there yet.
Yeah.
This is the most help I've had. So like, I'm gonna go what Robin says here. And
but it's definitely not something that a host is going to do for you.
no, I don't think so.
Other
yeah.
than to simply say, hey, it's a mixed content problem. Here's where the resources are to figure it out.
Right.
And it's because the steps that you need to take are just a number of specific details, that it isn't like here you threw the switch the wrong way, the host support
Yeah.
person can fix it. No, this is rooting around, making small changes where the issue arises, and therefore something that really it's incumbent on the site administrator to do.
yeah, I know, I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying I've had the similar issue with my site and GoDaddy helped me. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's possible. In certain cases, hosts will get in and fix your problems that you're supposed to fix yourself. Absolutely. I mean,
All right.
if you find somebody nice enough to do that on a support, because remember, when you're hosting, they don't care about your site. You're just paying them for the disk space on the internet. They don't. You can do whatever you want on your site. You could be like whatever, unless you're breaking the law, then they'll shut you down in 2 seconds. But the thing is that they usually don't fix your mixed content problems. But if you get somebody nice on the phone, or you sweet talk them into it, and they'll go in and they'll take you through the process and they'll fix it. Right. This is actually what our call is for. So we have more time. We could probably spend an hour trying to fix this mixed content problem, right? But they may take a whole hour to find where it is, right?
Alex, can I just thank you? I just got Anne-Marie's pulling over all my content, and WordPress.com's giving me my money back.
I told you.
Whoa, way to go.
So I managed all that in the last
You're
hour.
amazing. I can't believe how fast you acted. Good for you.
Yeah, it's all taken care of.
Tracy, write a little comment on the meetup page for
Oh,
tonight's
for
event,
sure.
because lots of people are encouraged by these small successes that you managed a little success right in the course of our session.
Oh, you guys just saved me $200.
Well,
I
then
did
definitely
pay some
put that
back.
down, because that's something that people would find both
Okay, I will put that in there.
encouraging, but also a nice human interest story.
Okay.
Let's give Anne-Marie a big up. I'm going to share her page. This is her
Oh,
team.
good one.
This is the web design packages that she sells.
She's already gotten back to me. She's got my credentials. She's pulling everything over.
She's really incredible designer. She's very talented. She lives out there in Pacific Northwest, and this is Anne-Marie right here. Yeah, she just does. She knows hosting. She knows design. She's been doing this for 20 years. So
She looks 20.
Hmm?
She looks like she's 20.
I know she's
Yes.
she's amazing. So she's got just, it's very rare, honestly, to find somebody like her, in the sense that I meet a lot of experts in hosting, like a lot of people that are doing. But the thing that's different about her, and I think I've met a few other folks like her, is that she doesn't really sweat the small stuff. It's like, oh, she takes a personal challenge to figure out performance issues. And so she's very she's probably gone through 10 or 15 different hosts, as far as I can tell. And she settled on a very small hosting provider that she trusts and buys lots of space from on a virtual private server that she then resells. And so she's eventually probably going to run her own WordPress hosting company, and she'll do very well. So,
well, you saved me about $250 in an hour.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
And I will make sure I write the review.
That's what we like to hear. Anyway,
Now I have to find somebody who's friendly with code to fix mine.
It's Dale. It's Anne-Marie. Here's her thing. This is she and I talked a lot. See, here's her thing, and I agree with her 100%. She basically says, look, if your host is giving you a hard time, if your host doesn't do backups, if your host doesn't do staging, if your host doesn't run your website quickly, if your host is there is absolutely no reason to stay with that host, period. And I agree with her, because good hosts are worth the weight in gold. To Cassandra's point, if you call a host, or you call somebody like Anne-Marie and say, I've got this problem, and she can 5 minutes, or whoever it is, can say, oh, go into this part of your site. They can log into your site. They usually have administrative access, by the way. They can log in themselves, and they could say, this is where you need to make the change. Sometimes they say, would you like me to make a change for you? And then you're saying, okay, go right ahead. And then they'll fix the problem. Right? A lot of really good hosts are doing that. I think SiteGround is actually pretty good at that, from what I heard. But large companies where you have 100 tickets coming in every hour, or maybe more, and all they really want to do is just get you off the phone, get your email answered, point you to a help article, and get you to do the work yourself. The difference is people like Anne-Marie, they are more concierge, which means that they're going to maybe charge you a bit more, but they're going to help you a bit more too, or sometimes a lot more. So
I like that term. They're more concierge.
Yeah. I can't recommend that kind of service. And she does a lot of stuff too. It's not just hosting. She does all the marketing and stuff. And so I would even say, as far as if you're a beginner web designer or somebody like that, and you want to have some support, some backstop support, then you host your site with her. Then you could outsource particular things that you don't know how to do and learn from how they do what they do. And you're going to learn a lot from Anne-Marie Gill. Yeah.
Sorry, what was the name of her site? I put in Cascade Designs, but I'm coming with something that's totally different.
CascadeValleyDesigns.com.
Oh, okay.
Cascade Valley. Cascade Valley is up there
Thank you.
in the Seattle area. So it's and we have he's not on the call today because he's actually helping one of my clients, Dan Stramer. Dan is a WordPress developer, and he's a lot like Anne-Marie. Dan, though, doesn't do hosting. He just recommends hosting, and he does WordPress plugin development and stuff like that. So he's actually, instead of being here today, he's actually helping one of our host deploy a plugin that he wrote into production right now. So thank you, Dan, for helping us, and sorry you can't be here with us right now.
And I just have to call her and tell her I need fixing of what?
What's that?
I just have to call and ask her to fix, but I'm writing it down because I'm going to forget.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixed content.
Mixed content. I'm so sorry. My brain is really mush today.
But Dale, what I would like you to do is instead of just saying, hey, fix my problem, you should ask your client, can we just move our hosting to Anne-Marie Gill? Because remember that the reality is that she's going to help you if she has control over the situation.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? If she's
Yes,
not
I
going to
do.
log into your WordPress site to fix your problem for free.
No, I'm
But
only
if-
joking. I'm only
But
joking.
if,
So
but if you decide, hey, I want to move my host to, you know, a reputable host, you know, and that can get some level of support, then that's amazing, right? So
yeah, I've got her. I've got the thing. I've got the name of her place here and
I
everything.
moved all my WordPress sites to her. So we running we actually are going to be running our production website for our company on WordPress imminently, probably by the end of April at her hosting company. And I've gone through GoDaddy. I have Ionis, which we have our site on running on now. I want a more high performance site than Ionis can provide. And so that's what we're doing. Right? I believe in not the technology as much as her, right? I understand and trust her to make really good decisions.
I was surprised when you said you're with Ionis. I had never heard of them until recently, and I got a client who's got a website with them.
They're huge.
I wasn't impressed.
I have a business hosting account, and I've had shared hosting on it for a decade. I have a couple of cloud servers with them, which run pretty good. It's a very large hosting company, not as large as GoDaddy. They're primarily European, but they have a Canadian presence and American presence. They're not anything special. There's nothing super amazing about them, but there's also nothing super awful either. So I don't know. Like
It was. I wasn't used to their cpanel. Trying to get into that, it was a whole new
there
event.
is no cPanel. They don't do.
I know. That was a surprise.
They have they completely redesigned and completely custom control panel that they've actually had like probably 2 versions in the time I've used them, maybe 3. They used to have a cPanel version, but they canceled that plan. The reason why is because they don't want people using cPanel with migration tools.
Ah, okay. That
Remember
makes
what
sense.
Robin said about cPanel? Like if you have cPanel, it's easy to migrate. Well, hosts that really want to hold you hostage, they will never use cPanel.
I didn't say that about
The other thing is that in the last 6 months, cPanel has changed their pricing in a substantial way. And a number of the low-end hosts have been forced to raise their prices and have, in response, now offer usually cPanel at a slight premium, and then somebody else as the base tier for the cheapest of their offerings.
I have seen that. Yes, you're right. I've seen that.
So now cPanel has been around for a long, long time. And the advantage to most of us is that if you switch hosts and they have cPanel, and that's where you're coming from, there's almost no mental adjustment required. Everything looks the same, works the same, feels the same. Yep. And that can be a big advantage. But as Alex says, it reduces the lock-in that some hosts are fond of. And so in my experience, to be avoided if the host is operating that way.
I was going to log in. I have to log into my credentials to get them. But this is Ionis's control panel. And when you log in, you get this blue bar. If it's cPanel, I can't tell because it's totally not. It's completely the way you set up domains and procure SSL certificates. How you spin up WordPress sites is like very custom, kind of like.
Oh, I know.
Like, well, I mean, it's not bad, but no, don't get me wrong. It's not bad. It's actually quite much. It's actually quite good. They have a very easy way to search for. They have like this Omni box where you can search all the different features. So you can find like an email inbox. They still support email forwarding, and they have actually one of the things that they do that is unusual in their shared hosting and business hosting plan. They have 1,000 mailboxes with 5 gigabytes of storage for free. So you can basically set up 1,000 full-blown mailboxes under any domain name that have a full webmail interface, kind of like a Hotmail, and forwarding and archiving and calendars and all kinds of stuff. It's not Office 365. It's not G Suite. They sell those as well, but they actually give you a lot of value if you have mailboxes and you want to have a kind of a low, cheap and cheerful view of that. So, but that's not WordPress host. They have managed WordPress and they have shared hosting like all the rest of them. And it's okay. Nothing.
I noticed that nobody suggests AWS for WordPress hosting, even though they would be by far the cheapest and have the most features and facilities. The problem is that they have the most complex setup and put you closest to the metal in terms of what you're doing. So apparently to get a normal site up and running I was just reading about it yesterday on an item in Hacker News. It was a 47-step process.
Oh my God.
And at 42 of those steps, you had a high likelihood of making an error and getting lost. This fellow who's an infrastructure expert and was using AWS as an example of a complete lack of interest on the part of the engineers in how the users interact with the software. However, nobody but AWS can offer 500 distinct solutions and produce new innovations at a rate of approximately every 18 days. They do basic upgrades to all the gear, and that's their release cycle. So that's also why they're by far the largest cloud provider by, I don't know, factor of 3 or 4 times.
And I think Google Cloud has a similar kind of thing, don't they?
Nothing like on the scale of AWS.
Yes.
I think Google's down in the 10 to 20% range.
Right.
And AWS is around 50 or 60.
Yeah.
For WordPress hosting.
No, for cloud services overall.
Oh yeah, for sure. AWS is the winner.
No, they're not popular with WordPress, even though if you knew what you were doing, you could be up and running in the 5 minutes. It's just that you know, the vast majority of us don't know what we're doing as a result.
Yeah, no doubt. This is the 1-in-1, the Ionis one. It used to be called 1-in-1, Ionis by 1-in-1 control panel, right? So
Alex, I actually started out with 1-in-1 way back when I had a couple dozen websites based in England.
Yeah.
And we had domain names all around the world. And 1-in-1 had some sort of a big operation then. And they were like the site ground of their day, meaning a very low and attractive entry price. And then you sort of scaled up pretty rapidly depending on what your requirements were. But if you had a multi-domain business, they were quite good because they operated in so many countries.
And they still are. And here's I still have most of our domain. I have a few at GoDaddy, but I have all of them here. Very easy to, so you can see this is not cPanel, right? This is completely different. I mean, maybe it's cPanel underneath, but you've got quick access to your subdomains.
No, it wouldn't be cPanel underneath.
Yeah, and you've got expiration, you've got like recurring. They've changed a lot of this interface here. You could specify like where SSL is available, right? So this is telling me, oh, SSL is installed here and here. These I actually procured. No, in this case, SSL is not actually on here. I think I have one site that I do have. Oh, maybe not here. No, I guess not. But I believe I remember procuring an SSL certificate right here, where my plan has free SSL. You have 3 SSL certificates I can procure, and so here's how you would like go in here, and these SSL certificates are just available for, you can revoke them and add them. So, you know, you don't have to charge for them. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but here I have a wildcard certificate for everything under newpathconsulting.com.
Yeah, that used to be a real headache for the free and cheap certificates, and now is a no charge add-on, which is great.
I get it, like, well, I mean, it's part of the package, the business package.
Right, but I mean, we need to appreciate why it's so much to the advantage of the Googles and Apples and WordPresses and automatics of the internet. The more they reduce the friction and risk in e-commerce, the more e-commerce flourishes.
Absolutely.
And so all of these steps to make SSL pervasive are really increasing the level of confidence people have in using the internet, which is very much to the benefit of the monopolies that run the internet.
Well, yeah, but also allows people like Cassandra to set up a cake store and all this other stuff too, right? So, I mean, yeah, like this is how you manage SFTP. It's all quite good, and you can set here's web space, and you can like, you know, you can switch PHP versions quite. I mean, you know, set up MySQL databases. So this is just regular hosting kind of stuff. And if you look at the web, so one of the cool one-click, and they've made a lot of strides here. I'm just showing you as an example of a non-cPanel thing, so you can compare. This is, I can spin up WordPress sites, Joomla sites, Moodle sites. I can create from these stores, right? So you have all these open source solutions, and this probably takes 10 seconds to spin up a WordPress site, a standard. So normally you would install that from scratch and put it together, but these one-click installers, which a lot of cPanel things have as well, hosts, is really a good. This is why when you say I want to create another staging site or some other, if you have a system that allows you to quickly spin up a site, you don't even think twice about it. You just go and do it. And so, Dale, we're kind of talking to you because, and Jake maybe because you're the only one.
I think you're the last ones on.
So, but like this is the kind of stuff you want at least this kind of functionality in a host. And I think most of the hosts do have this somewhat this level or better functionality to do stuff, right? So.
Okay, guys.
Alrighty. Thanks, everybody. We'll post this on the WordPress Toronto website when we get it digitized. And I thank you for your time.
Because I'm going to have to watch it again. Thank you much. This has been my good day. I actually
Sure, mixed content.
I've been fighting with
inside
that.
quotes, and you're in business. There's
Well,
a
I'm probably
mountain of
gonna watch
material out
this.
there on it.
I know, but I'm going to watch this again because I'm going to forget everything. It's been a rough day. The brain is mush.
Ciao.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Yeah, good session.
Bye, Jeff.
Definitely.